open it, I'm gonna start the. I'm gonna read that post. Well, first I gotta play the music.
Yeah, don't we have a song? We have a song, right?
Yeah.
The future's gonna be just as weird as now is. I promise. The future's gonna be absurd as the past. Be sure of that. The future's gonna be just as weird as now is. I promise. The future's gonna be absurd as the past. Be sure of that.
Oh, that was loud. That was high. That's so shrill when it's. Fuck that up. Anyway, that's a funny thing. Do a show. Oh wow, are you communicating with me? Are you communicating with me? Welcome to the Nonsensus.
I can't do that.
I'm Zakery Winchester. You can. You just haven't begun.
I can't yet do that.
Yeah. You can, right? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Oh, that's all it is?
But the impact, what beatboxing is making P's and B sounds really bassy with your face. And it's just like this visceral thing.
All right, we'll come back to that.
You ever onomatopoeia really hard? Like, and then I just walked up and went boof, boof, boof.
Oh,
and
for sure.
That moment that it's like, whoa, because I was so excited and I really wanted to communicate how much of a boof it was like, that's all the beatboxing is, but then repeating that a bunch of times.
And into a harmonica eventually.
One day, or performing cunnilingus on a very special person who wants you to beatbox shamanic light code.
That is something worth looking forward to for everyone.
I think that everybody who does get down that way should be silly and playful with it too. And man, I've heard of some sex cult stuff that, I mean, some of which is really upsetting and tragic, but some of which is just so weird. Somebody was telling me that it was part of their thing to, like, you're told to massage the upper right quadrant of the clitoris.
Oh, that's One Taste. That's One Taste.
What's that?
That's from One Taste.
One Taste? What is that?
That's the group that does that.
Oh, I just remember hearing quadrant of a clitoris and being like, you've broken this into 4?
No, for sure. It started from this group called One Taste that I think originally started in San Francisco, which I lived in for 8 years. And so I knew plenty of people that were involved in this because it's connected like the conscious sexuality community. And those were a lot of my friends. And so it was called oming, where basically what you would do is you would have the woman sit on you. I don't remember how. I never went to one of their meetings. And then you would just rub the certain quadrant of the clit for up to an hour or two. And it was about like pleasure without expectation and all this kinds of stuff. But I don't think the dudes ever get rubbed. So kind of a raw deal for the dudes. Basically, and the people that were involved with it were always really strange, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I'm not one to judge. I don't wish to judge anyone. I wish everyone to have the best of times that they can with their reality, their consciousness, with very few exceptions that are obvious. I think that's something that we need to be like, you know how Donald Trump was just president? Well, still is now. And there were some moments where you never heard things said so bluntly by someone who's coming from that role, right? Everything was, at least there was an attempt to make it either vague or eloquent or do the politician dance where you're avoiding statements, sort of thing. And you got to hear somebody just say stuff. Now, I'm not down with that dude's deal at the fuck all. But if that happens with someone kind and intelligent and like, with their oars in the water. I keep saying this. My mom says this, and I thought that's such good imagery. It's like you're rowing, but your oars aren't in the water.
That's pretty good, though. It's a good image.
It's so great.
You see someone like,
but if there's somebody whose oars are in the water here, who gets in that position and starts saying things really bluntly, like, Fuck. Now I lost what was the example of something being said bluntly on a large. I've forgotten entirely.
I don't know. I might get some echo real quick. I'm gonna go and share the thing.
Fours are in the water here, who gets in that
That's my voice from the past.
really bluntly, like, fuck. Now
Well,
Wait, no, never mind. I thought I did something I didn't do. Okay, we're okay. I'm still here. I thought I accidentally exited out of the podcast.
blunt statements like, imagine next president, not next. Just social network posting.
He could be back.
We're trying to figure out what we are, what this planet is, and what it would be to fill in the blank. Did you see this thing of this former Israeli defense minister?
And allegedly Trump knew about this.
Yeah, with the and I remember a very similar song to this where it was a Canadian defense minister of yesteryear who was like, oh yeah, there's the tall whites and the short grays, and so it didn't really strike me as like, oh, this is the moment, this is when we all find out.
I know we've had so many of those.
Yeah, the moment when you're finding out, you will be fucking around and finding out. You will be real sure that there's aliens, because it will not be a bit of written language communication to you. It will be an experience that is like, okay, we have now entered a different thing.
Hopefully a little different than Independence Day. That's all I'm hoping for.
The film or the holiday?
I'm fine if it's like the holiday. But if it's like the film, I'd prefer not. Like, I'd prefer they come down and party and share telepathic sex with us. Like, that would be great.
I don't
But if
think
they want to harvest us for resources, no thanks.
the ID4 aliens don't make sense to me.
The what?
ID4, remember all the merchandise, all the like action figures and stuff were marketed as ID4 Independence
Oh,
Day.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, because Independence Day.
ID 4th of July. Yeah.
That's clever.
Yeah. So, but with even my 14-year-old philosophical mind was like, wait, they wouldn't be dicks. They got here. You don't leave your planet if you remain dicks.
Tell that to the Native Americans.
That's an ocean.
Might as well be the same thing. If they can travel, might as well be the same thing. It was to them. The idea of crossing the ocean at the time was just as insane.
You have a point, but it's not sturdy.
You're talking about how easy it is for them. It could be like a nice little jaunt to the park.
So different. That's so different. You're talking about the difference between an ocean when we know that buildings exist, and now all you got to do is figure out how do I make a floating building that gets across this thing. And
but we don't know what their life is like. It could be easy as fuck for them.
You're talking about you're comparing that to outer space.
But to some unknown intelligence that could be way beyond us.
So it's like it figures out quickly without eviscerating itself and its own species how to travel worlds.
Or over the course of God knows how long. Doesn't necessarily have to be quickly.
But I think that figuring that out requires figuring it out that it doesn't help you to be a fucking bastard.
Unless it does. It worked for Genghis Khan.
Yeah, but at the fucking outer space or dimensional travel level, I would like to think that it shows up and it's like, we know a bunch of stuff that you don't. But there's something interesting. Like, I like the idea that that we are interested in each other. I think that it seems more plausible.
I'd prefer it be more Star Trek than Star Wars. I really would. But I just don't really see a lot of reasons to think that, other than I'd prefer it be that way.
But in Star Wars, it's not racism so much as there's a disagreement in ideology between the light and the dark side.
Yeah, but there's still an intergalactic empire that will just raw dog you to death if you don't do what they say.
I love how campy it is, and like to think that I may have built my metaphysical landscape of reality on Star Wars because it was given to me in a
I think a
more
lot of people did.
yeah, it was biblical. It was biblical as fuck. And then you find out, whoa, this is campy. And they made bad ones. And they made 3 more bad ones.
And then they made 3 more bad ones.
Whew. Then they made then they made a good show. We made a good show.
Yeah, I heard the show was pretty good, but the animation was so bad I couldn't get into it.
We've been talking for 10 minutes and have not broached the subject matter, but that's maybe that is a good set. There was a great segue earlier. Oh, and talking about chaos, not knowing what the future is going to be. But anyway, not knowing what we're going to talk about.
I think we're exemplifying how to deal with chaos. It's just laugh about Star Wars.
Go where it goes, agree to where it's going, unless it's very unagreeable, in which case you can leave the room or the conversation. Okay, so this is the post that is the starter for today.
Let's do it.
A nonsense person posted, if you are a person who has difficulty with nonsense and uncertainty and chaos, I genuinely pray that the gods will have mercy on your soul, because you were born at a real weird time if nailing down a solid reality is what you need to remain chill. I suppose if I was going to do a coaching TM program for money, I think that would be the heart of the coursework. Quotation. Helping people who get really nervous about nonsense warm up to the enterprise of having no idea what's going to happen next. Reality is going to be that way. Reality is going to be that way for a while, I reckon. I do believe this is a if you can't beat it, join it situation that we are in with nonsense, which brings us to the question, is chaos and uncertainty therapy or training? Is that coachable? Can we package that?
Well, yeah, because all it really is making peace with life on life's own terms. Because life is inherently chaotic. And so essentially, in my opinion, it's more strange to not be okay with chaos. I know that's the default, and for most of my life, I wasn't okay with chaos. But now that I am, it really seems like how more people, like how it's more weird to not be lactose intolerant than it is to be lactose intolerant. I feel like it's more weird to be chaos intolerant than it is chaos tolerant, because chaos is a natural, inherent way of things. And so for you to not be okay with the natural and inherent way of things, that's got me really curious, is how did we get to a point where we're not okay with life as it is? How and why? I don't understand.
So I'm thinking about this a lot today, not just because I knew what we were going to talk about, because it is the thing on my brain most days in this era. It's pretty clear, the evidence is in, that the healthiest thing for us as biological robot humans, vessels, apes, whatever, spirit inhabiting a decaying flesh vessel, whatever the fuck, as this, it really helps for your longevity and just vibrance and health and being able to optimize, maximize your putting your signal out there into the world, or whatever you want to call it. Like, everything seems healthy to get a nailed down, reoccurring, certain, secure routine going on the biological, physiological level, and your mental health just really benefits from more repetition and certainty. As it has been said, we are creatures of habit. That thing is like known. And now we're in this place where you might set up a routine that really needs to fucking course direct in a quick on hurry because something done super changed.
Something done super changed. I don't know if I could have phrased that better myself.
You might not have the world you were trying to be in.
That's very true. And so, like, let's look at that at least. Why don't we know that? Why isn't that the thing people are pushing for? Why is that not common topic of discussion? Even in the realm of coaches, like I'm a coach and I know a decent amount of coaches. Even in that, I don't even hear a lot of people talking about this. And you just laid down basically one of the simplest forms of combating chaos in your life is to instill order through healthy repetition of routine. Like that cuts through so much shit. It does so much. First of all, you see yourself as somebody who can maintain a routine, aka you see yourself as somebody with discipline and strength and integrity and all sorts of things. And then you get the benefits of the actual routines themselves. And because you have a structure and because you have a routine, you don't fall victim to aimlessness. You don't fall victim to nihilism. You don't fall victim to all of the trappings that are inherently present in a world of chaos without order. You've got D&D. I'm not even cool. I'm jealous. We should play D&D. We should do an internet D&D thing. That would be fun.
You know, I never have.
I've done it like 3 times. If we could regularly do this, if we could get like a group of people to play D&D on the internet, like on Zoom, and we could even stream it if we wanted, boy howdy.
The thing where there's this is I have a lot of apologias of potential ways in which capitalism could be the engine that frees us all that I didn't have any awareness or willingness to speak of 3-5 years ago. I don't know if that was understandable, but there is this thing where there are moments where sincerity, honesty, and like my fucking political axiom that kindness is intelligence, that we just decree that those are not synonyms, but they like define each other and whatever. Anyway, that it's like right now, if you're a coach whose thing is to optimize a person's fitness in reality, and you are helping them be fit for a world that may be crumbling and birthing a phoenix of new. It seems to me like you almost like have to go spiritual, because now you're talking about the bedrock, the like element of what someone is, to the point of the like deep downness that would show up in any situation and be itself in that scenario. Because this scenario is changing so much, and that's like, I just talked with my friend Craig Blackmore like right before this, and we talk about mostly future and technology stuff, and just spitballing hypotheticals and things. And it's like whenever you like getting into the possibility of AI, AI workforce sort of things, like the thing that you used to that was your pride and livelihood can be done better by something that won't complain ever,
or
like,
get tired, or take lunch breaks.
Yeah,
that's fucking wild.
Have depression, confusion. Have you what is your level of experience in chess? This is great if we're talking about chaos and uncertainty.
It's pretty minimal. I beat my brother at chess 10 times in a row once.
Okay, so you've played the game. Have you I suggest this like with the Wim Hof things just for brain stuff. I have struggled with decision anxiety. I've been told that this is one of the things, if I meet the criteria of ADHD real thoroughly, and one of the things that it said of that is decision anxiety. And I found that it really helps me to play timed chess, because it is difficult to make a decision. It feels so nerve-wracking, but after you just have if you put yourself through the fire so many times of like, I'm about to make a consequential mistake, and I did it, that can help with that moment, just like how the cold shower, it's like, I play
video games for that. I get that same thing out of video games. Like I'm playing Cyberpunk right now, and it's like they make it so that you have to make spur of the moment intense decisions that you know for sure will have a lasting impact on the game. You'll probably get a different ending, and somebody may even die as a result of the decision that you're making. And they make it like really intense, and so you have to like make these really quick decisions that you know they're going to impact things that for some reason you're involved in. And it's just really fucking cool. Same with battle strategy. I like strategy games because I like having to outsmart people. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Long story short,
my friend Vosto,
I remember him.
Whom I am a huge fan of and love dearly. He put out a video recently, his critique of Cyberpunk 2077.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you told me about this, and we're very positive, very excited. And I get really excited about it. I watched some of the gameplay, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like GTA with like a fucking Fallout deep RPG that is like Cyberpunk. Is there going to be synthwave? Oh my fuck, Night City, get the fuck out! This is like,
perfect explanation, yeah.
And I had the experience the other day of being in the Best Buy, and I just walked over to it and like picked up the thing. It was just looking at the back. And within a matter of seconds of my holding this rectangle, a man comes up to me and says, and so interesting to have the face mask on and be talking about this cyberpunk thing and to be wearing a face mask in the fucking pandemia era moment. Anyway, he comes up to me and like with real brotherly concern, it's like, not worth it, man. He's like, yeah, the endings, I don't care for the endings. It's like it's not as deep as you would like it to be, sort of thing. And Vosto, in this critique, which you should watch this video, I always appreciate his opinions, whether there is a layer of meta parody or not going on.
I couldn't tell if he was a real person for the longest time.
Yeah, he's real. I want to go there. I want to go and visit him in Transylvania.
Where's he at again? Like Transylvania or something?
I was told something like 20 kilometers from Vlad Dracula's castle.
Yeah. That's what I remember. That's why there's so many reasons I could not believe this is a real person. He would say the most outlandish things. So casual.
But aren't you? The more I observe about that, it's a very paradigm shifting thing to know Eastern consciousness.
Like my girlfriend.
It's like Slavic consciousness is different than this. He's like, it's like, dude, Russia and Russia. I keep saying that, like Russian consciousness, because I just like tapped into like there's these certain things that perspectives and like, okay, so there's a group perspective, but it's about a place. It's like it's a whole zone where perspective has been that for thousands of years. And it can be so different. And that's why travel is so psychedelic. Like it's almost, it's perfect if it works out. Like right now, this period is like, as I see that the world is not travelable right now, my deepest desire is to go forth into novelty and bring my finished work of art, which is myself. That's what podcasting is. And I've heard this articulated very well by I think Eric Weinstein says this, like there's some people gushing about how much they appreciate podcasting as an expressive opportunity. And it's like nothing before has there been. This is like I am efforting to share myself, and so
I mean, on the travel thing, like you made me think of two things. First of all, I think you can do it because my friend's little brother, who's also my friend, just recently reported last week or maybe even this week that he just did acid at the pyramids of Giza.
I've seen a YouTube video where these folks go into some catacombs, some tombs, and drink ayahuasca, like out of bottles. This practice
That's so horrifying. Acid's one thing, but Jesus God.
It's so weird. It's weird, but it's also like, okay, check this out. This is
that's masochism.
We are on the edge of discussion right here. God damn it. We are on the edge of discussion because these are things that I don't hear talked about, but I had people tell me, I had a bottle of it could be called pharmawaska because it's, it's rendered a little bit differently than what you would get from the jungle. But I essentially had not me, I have not done this. Not to say that I wouldn't like the fuck around and find out one day, but I have not had this experience yet. Somebody was telling me is that they have like a bottle of pharmawaska, like, a DMT beverage, and they're riding around their bicycle at Burning Man, taking little sips every so often.
That's cool. Doing it at Burning Man is fine. That's what Burning Man's for. But to be in a country like, let's say, Egypt, where imagine being thrown in prison on ayahuasca in Egypt.
This is my least sought after experience.
Seriously.
I worry about that when it is not going to happen to me. I'm just alone at home, just thinking maybe that might occur.
I know. When I did ayahuasca once, and I was in pristine conditions, and it was a lot. I cannot imagine having that experience under fear of law enforcement from a foreign country, specifically Egypt.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It was happening. It was like they had somebody to like let them in to the situation.
But the second thing that you, speaking of travel, thought up is when we should do a travel thing at some point. We should go somewhere and do things and record stuff.
Exactly. That's why I wrote like the art form of the podcast and how it's so what I think is so special about it is it's like the same way I feel about traveling to a place. There's echo. Are you?
Sounds fine to me.
Open? Okay. I hear a bit of echo. But anyway, when I travel, I feel now like that's the performance. And it's just, if there's a stage situation that happens, it's like, okay, be yourself in a situation that is new to you. And that I'm coming up with like my 3 clauses as a person, and like what the things that I stand for. And to just spitball it out and try to say it, I might, this is a draft, but one of them is follow genuine interest and follow that like a quest, like a journey, and so something that seems difficult, like getting to Transylvania or fucking Australia or Japan, like follow that. If it's possible, do it. It's the most worthwhile thing that's here, is what seems most interesting.
Carl Jung has a quote about that. And he says that if you follow that which is most alive in you, it will lead you to God, even if it doesn't seem like it.
And it does seem like it more and more.
But in the beginning, it doesn't, because it's like, I want to do this, but I've never done that before. There doesn't seem to be any inherent value in it. I can't make money off it. It doesn't really, I don't know what to do, but I have this drive to go do it. And then you do that enough times and the inherent value of it reveals itself. But for somebody who isn't in that world, it can be really weird.
Yeah. I'm sure you have thoughts like this. I have thoughts like this, of that I might, on my travels, find the place that I want to live and die.
That's how I feel about Tokyo.
That's how I think I feel about Tokyo, and I haven't been there.
I could spend the rest of my life in Tokyo and be perfectly happy, except you can't smoke weed. Like, you really can't smoke weed. That's the only problem.
How would you get cartridges over there? Is the question.
You wouldn't. You'd have to. We got offered shitty weed by a few people, and it was like a big deal. They were like displaying a lot of trust in us, and it was not good weed.
Cartridges.
Like weed cartridges?
Yeah.
You'd have to get them shipped from somewhere, and if you got caught, you'd have to go to Japanese prison, which doesn't sound fun.
Well, that's a big old bummer. Well, maybe we're allowing the computations of other countries to defrag and reorchestrate themselves for a more optimal.
Yeah, so I'll go back and I'll visit for months at a time, but long-term living, I like weed too much.
Yeah, I won't be bringing a DMT pen on an international flight until I know that that's perfectly safe. But having those exist, and it's been a while. Oh, I haven't, because we talked about this months back, like when the pandemic first started. And there's this really funny moment. I listened back to it where I'm saying like, yeah, I've had this DMT pen and I'm hitting it pretty frequently. I'm kind of trying to keep myself so that there's no distinguishable difference between my waking life and my dreams. And then you go, that's the definition of psychosis. You don't want that. That's what it means to be insane.
Yeah, I know. You don't want self-induced clinical psychosis. You don't want that.
Yeah, well, but my finding now, months later, I don't even remember when I just stopped having that. I think one fell out of my pocket and broke, and then I didn't see, and I have not had that luxury, which is more the psychedelic thing of having a DMT pen in your pocket, is that it's there. It's not. It's not when you hit it. It's that it's there all the time.
Yeah,
that's the fucking thing.
That would be wild, knowing that I had consistent access to that experience.
I am a person on the other side of that experience, having sustained that for some time, because I live in a
pile of acid, but I don't care. It's just acid.
But I don't like acid. I don't enjoy.
Really?
That is not enjoyable, I'm sure, for me anymore. I'm coming more in touch with what my like neurotype is. And we're this Thursday, we're gonna that's tomorrow, have the conversation about diagnosis of mental health disorder.
Oh yeah.
And ADHD is something that it has been known and spoken in my peripheral and for more than a decade now, that I meet the criteria of that outrageously. But my program used to be, I'm not gonna identify as that, because then I'm gonna just lean into it more, sort of thing. But now I'm an adult, and there's something that is made very difficult or different about my experience that I find is like neurological and requires some more than medication. It requires some intense effort to get happening in a way where my oars are in the water here more often. Anyway, I lost it. And a great example. I forgot what I meant. I forgot what I was talking about. I forgot who we
Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Yep.
I started watching the have you watched any episodes of the Animaniacs reboot?
Excuse me, I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, they redid the Animaniacs. And it's like they just recreated whole new episodes, and it's on Hulu, and it's actually really funny. And they do that bit where they make like an adult joke, and then Yakko is always like, "Good night, everybody," and like that's how you know that they made some joke that like only the adults will get. Shit cracks me up every time. Genuinely still funny.
I would love to put that in there. Anyway, is chaos, uncertainty coaching coachable? Because I'm actually thinking about doing this. I think that there are those who have already optimized themselves in terms of efficiency, productivity, and now it's like I've witnessed this. This is so a thing. These individuals are walking around, and the thing that would bring the most volts to the amps of their life, like they have the affluence, the wealth, the vehicles to be able to enjoy life, but there's just no oomph of feeling like meaning. And that's one example. And then there's someone who is so locked into their comfortable routine, security, certainty, repeating situation that chaos scares them, so they don't veer from the path. And if somebody who is having that experience could have access and the full attention and skills of somebody who is like, hey, you can fuck around and find out, I would like to be that for somebody. I think that might be hugely important for someone.
It's very fun. Yeah. I've been that for people. I had a client recently for like 6 months who's the founder of like 2 big tech companies, and he's basically that. And helping somebody that manages billions of dollars in assets and a whole bunch of employees and all kinds of stuff, but just doesn't know how to enjoy themselves, like helping them find that is actually really, really fulfilling, because it makes you, not only is it fun to watch somebody make that transition and be rewarded really well for it, but it's also gives you this sense of like, I'm making somebody's boss suck a little bit less. I'm making somebody's experience of going to work and having to interface with this authority figure more pleasant and more just less terrible. It's extremely, extremely rewarding, especially considering those people can pay you a whole lot.
What will we value when there are more of us who have what do they call that? Summited the mountain of validating one's existence through manifesting fitness in the games and meta games that currently exist.
I think it'll always just be a matter of who's pushing it further. Like, I can't believe people are still coming up with new skateboard tricks. I thought the 900 was it.
Did you know that I cohabitate with a skater boy?
Do you say "see you later, boy"?
See, and he is, and he's a tremendous person, and I fucking love observing Skater Boy world. And this is something. This is okay. So I said earlier, there's like 3 axioms of my existence. One is intelligence is kindness, and you have to work for that. You have to work for that being a observable truth of the definition of those 2 things, that they are defined by each other. More so that intelligence is kindness than that kindness is intelligence. But anyway, so there's that, kindness is intelligence, and then there's the second one is like fucking interest. Seek the interest, the Carl Jung quote, and the like, go after what is most interesting to you. Attempts at becoming more interesting in the thing that you're not is going to lead you to hell, and it is going to waste time, and you're going to feel so bad about the time that you wasted. And it's like, but any time is now. Like, pick it up, like follow interest. Seek what interests you, and get interested about that. There might be something that interests you. That might be the first step. And the third, I don't have off the top of my head right now. But yeah,
I just want to say something about the interest. Am I interrupting, or do you still have more?
Nope, go.
Okay, so I want to say something about interest that I was thinking about last night. In that, have you ever seen the movie or watched the anime or heard anything about the story Berserk? Are you familiar with that story at all?
I've seen you holding that tome, and I have seen it, but not read through it. No.
Okay, cool. So, I got pretty sick. Pretty sure I had the Rona like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and I was stuck in bed with a fever for a few days. And all 3 of the movies are on Netflix, so I watched all 3 movies, and I got just completely enamored with this story. It's the most fucked up story, the most gruesome, horribly fucked up story I've pretty much ever heard in my entire life. It like takes the most messed up story I've ever heard and like turns it all the way up to the point where it's considered a horror story. But it's also so beautifully written and so wonderful that I decided to buy like a bunch of these like big leather bound volumes, because this story has been in being published for 30 years. And so I bought these giant leather bound volumes because I was so obsessed with the story, and I started reading it just because I was really interested in it. So I wanted to know everything I could about the story. And sure as fuck, studying one of these characters that I was fascinated by led me to all of these realizations and insights about the role of conviction and resolve, and what it means to truly be resolute in something, and that the impact that that has on you, and the way that you hold yourself, and the way that you relate to the world and other people and challenges that you face and all these sorts of things. And so I've become a much stronger person, like a much stronger person. The difference is so noticeable just over the course of a week, because I was interested in an anime series. And so I spent all this money on books, and it changed my life in a significant way. And so I think that's the part where Carl Jung is saying that even if it doesn't seem like it, I would have never thought in a million years that reading this really horribly fucked up story and spending too much money on the leather-bound volume version of it would benefit me in such a way. I just thought I wanted to do it. It just seemed fun and fascinating to me. And now I'm talking to myself. And maybe we'll see. Yeah, you get it. So, yeah. I didn't think that was going to benefit me. I had no reason to think it was going to benefit me. It definitely falls into the category of it doesn't seem like it. And yet I followed my interest. I followed my aliveness. I followed the fascination, and boom, something tremendously valuable fell into my lap.
That's me with Wim Hofery, which is really just, I mean, that is the man who popular. I learned something about Wim Hof today that I did. Well, or I wouldn't say I learned that. It sunk in today that there was a long period of his life where he was the crazy fucking Yeti guy, and that was if he was being discussed publicly and a lot of his experiences in person, it does seem like he reports that there was a period of time where I was crazy to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's been scienced. They scienced what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and are now connecting it to old religious rite sort of stuff. Maybe not right so much as techniques, methods like I remember hearing as a very young grasshopper of monks doing stuff
Mm-hmm.
with breathing and meditation to be able to change
Tibetan
their
folks.
temperature. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you got this guy and his story of how like he found what cold exposure was, that he was just like called to this icy river, and it's like it would be ridiculous to go in there, and and found this place where he was where thinking stopped. And that's my whole quest right now. It's my following my interest is like my mind is very powerful, but it's very the I don't have a lack of attention. I have a fucking fierce beam that doesn't seem to go at my will.
Mm.
Of attention and it's yeah, and it's become so curious and really interesting to me what might happen if I made more choices with what I know, what I've observed from my little experience of being here doing consciousness stuff in reality as it is. That that we have said this before on this program, and would you not agree more today that it seems like we get what we ask for, but in a weird way?
Yeah. And to add on top of that, if you are getting other than what you're asking for, then you are unconsciously asking for that thing more than you realize.
Yeah, and on a timeline that will seem to catch you off guard. And there was this story of the monkey paw, which is like it was just very plainly put, like kid makes wishes, huh?
The wish giving thing?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it gives you your wishes in a weird way that are like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not what I meant.
Yeah.
And I look at the world right now, and it's what I was casting spells into existence inadvertently from age teenage to like, it's all that unfolding. And now me wants to like has all this perspective of wanting to reign in the chaos. Like he used to just I made a identity out of chaos for so long, and now it's like chaos is what happens. It's part of this.
Mm-hmm.
How can what the structure is my choices, and I thought I was a agent or a entity of chaos, but no, I'm a thing that creates my own order, and then there's so much fuck around and find out that happens within that, and that's so exciting to me now. What would like I'm getting so excited of when there's the next time that it seems like there's a series of months that will be the same world. And I don't know if we get that. You know what I mean? Like right now, make a fucking plan for this summer. You don't fucking know what the world's gonna be like this summer.
Oh, that was my mom calling me. Sorry.
Your mom doesn't know.
No. Doesn't have the foggiest notion. But that does remind me of something, so we can at least touch on the topic we intended to talk about. And it's the number one thing that I think to really help people relate to chaos in a way that won't sweep you away is another thing that Jordan Peterson often talks about is identifying with the transcendent rather than identifying with something fixed, because a fixed identity can be rattled and shifted and threatened and completely essentially obliterated often by changing circumstances. Whereas if you identify with the transcendent and you are not this fixed thing that you identify, you are the transcendent thing that integrates different identities and breaks apart different identities and takes care of all the different parts of yourself, then chaos becomes the realm in which you normally navigate and the realm in which you install order and integrate different parts of yourself in service of and all sorts of things. So as long as you because the transcendent is the ultimate pillar to identify with, because you can stay solid identifying with the transcendent while everything inside of you changes, while everything around you changes. And as long as you are the transcendent awareness thing that manages all of that, and your identity is firmly rooted in that, then the amount of chaos that shows up for you doesn't really matter.
And what's a mistake then? I put this comment up. Sometimes you must do the thing in order to feel free. You must do the wrong thing in order to feel free and alive, unlike a robot. So is this the idea of mistakes? You made the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I use this turn of phrase all the time now because I have this man, for years I would not go around saying I have ADHD, but I've just looked into I meet the criteria insanely, and it's like I have a new idea of what that a diagnosis is. It's something to, okay, this is going on reflexively. Now, how do I add more choice and control to the mix, knowing that this is how things will default. Anyway, mistakes. Like if I was going to say the turn of phrase that I say much as an ADHD person, it occurs to me often. And it's like, it's going to be difficult for me to land this ship. I'll be talking and I just put a bunch of fucking articulated clouds into the air, like little communicative clouds that like have a point maybe, but it hasn't been arrived at yet. And then it's like, can I at least land the ship so that it's like, this is all of the chemtrails that was emitted from this vessel that at some point was heading somewhere, but it went somewhere different because chaos is my fucking default. Like, what's a mistake if I keep synergizing this series of mistakes that is my life?
I don't understand the question.
Okay. Like the experience of I was free willing and I made the wrong choice and really feeling that. Isn't it weird that we keep finding out that it's all synergizable, as in you can get to a moment where it's like, oh, that's why that traumatic thing shaped me for this many years. That really sucked. But now look at me here, really aware of something that the others aren't.
Yeah, which is interesting because we were talking about this diagnosis thing, which obviously we're going to go into more tomorrow. But I think it's like you can look under the surface, right? Like if you get diagnosed with depression or you get diagnosed with anxiety, it's like, okay, cool. Like I can point to a bunch of symptoms and that can validate my experience. That can help me feel less alone because it's a thing that people know about and people think study. And so it's like, great, okay, cool. This is a thing that exists in reality and I can understand it now. But the clinical understanding, as far as I can tell, ain't really going to give you anywhere to go. However, if you can start noticing all the different symptoms and then do integration work and start looking at all the different parts of your personality that create those symptoms and start to get into relationship with them and start to understand why they're doing what they're doing, then you have a much more deeper personal and, in my experience, practical understanding of the thing that you're dealing with that will actually allow you to do something with it. Where a diagnosis itself is like, great, that's a new identity I get to live into. And the longer I hold that as an identity, the longer my patterns stay in place.
So I'm going to take the two then, because the one that I've got going, that I'm like in this now, and this is exactly what I feared for years, but now I think that it's rooted in some reality stuff, which is I meet the criteria for this thing that is a list of traits that keeps happening, that is a pattern. I'm now 32 years old, and this is what I've observed my brain to do for more than two decades now. Decades of like, there's this thing that everybody's talking about. They give people medication for it. It's a thing, and it's like, and you are it to a fucking T. And it's like, and it's showing real difficulties now that are clearer because I'm adult, and more things are expected of me. There's more things that are like, it used to be just like, don't try to pay attention to anything that's not interesting. Now there's some things that are pretty fucking mundane that it really helps to be able to hold single point focus to be able to achieve. Anyway,
wipe yourself when you're done pooping.
I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I'm like a shower before present. Like if I have shat, I have showered.
Wow, you need a bidet.
Present. Yeah, no, I think those are great. I think those things are great. And we're not going to go into like
Okay, fine. Keep going.
analingus etiquette is like a whole other tangent. We're talking about
Fine.
okay, so the identity and the actual reality of ADHD type sort of thing. But then like I've been seeing this is really pertinent right now. Like how many of those who could be, I don't like to call people nouns, but especially a noun that is an adjective, but like there are paranoids amongst us.
Mm-hmm.
A paranoid person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their system, their program is. Who's doing this to us?
Mm-hmm.
And what and how? And I see the dots, you know, and it's not like that sort like dot connecting. There isn't dot connecting to be had, but there's some people that you can just see like this is your program. This is what you're going to do it, whether or not it's happening. And there's such a little, there's so much less awareness about that than anything, because it's like this, it would be this huge paradigm shift, right? For like, think of some of the paranoids that you know. You probably have. I have dear friends that do that.
Well, it's also more socially acceptable to be that way than it's ever been before. There's a sense of collective pride in it now because we've essentially been split. The pandemic did this in a way that I don't think anything else could have. We've all been split to where it's like, you know, these people are paranoid about this sort of thing, and that's completely okay for them. And everybody who's paranoid about the other thing is obviously some kind of malcontent, something wrong with them. And then there's people that are paranoid about this thing on the opposite side, and that's totally normal. And so it's like the cultural permission to be completely paranoid and just connect dots that don't exist in my lifetime, it's never been so prevalent and it's never been so acceptable and normalized.
Because it's like the move. The move. I won't name names, but I see some Instagram accounts sometimes, and sometimes I will pay a particular attention to someone who I disagree with a bunch, and if I went in circles where I am sometimes at a party where this person is physically present, like there's somebody with pandemic things. There's a few that it's like, I think that I would at some point like politely ask them for a private conversation. And I would like really ask questions like, do you really think that? Yeah. Like, you know, do you really, but also like, like I can see what's happening with you. Like, you've got a great brain on you. But there's this thing that's happening to all of us that is not having a trusted stream of truth. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I think that a lot of us, like one of the layers that, you know, not to like announce myself as some new level of elitely woke or whatever, but I think that like one of the things that a lot of us are, that there's a delayed realization that you are in the era of realization that nobody knows what the fuck is going on, you know.
No, bro, this is the great unveiling, bro.
Oh god, there's nobody manning the store.
It's the great unveiling, bro.
Are you putting the microphone to your third eye?
I don't know. That just seems like what you do when you're talking about that. But it's fucked because, like, remember QAnon?
Ain't that still doing?
No, that's gone, bud. When's the last time you heard anybody talk about that?
It just stopped queuing?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I can tell, I used to hear people talking about it all the time, and now crickets. Nothing.
Because it's like, oh, that played its game. That was it an electoral chess move?
I think so.
Because it got you a bunch of like there are minds, and it's like, and to not think like with this, I pushed back against this for a long time, that my brain is broken or different, or that there's going to need to be some sort of like everybody's a special little snowflake, but it's not a disorder. But in the same way with the paranoid brain thing, it's like, okay, when somebody's having a real panic attack, have you been present for one or several of those, or had one yourself?
I think so.
I mean,
my mental health used to be so atrocious that my whole life felt like torture. So it's hard to differentiate spikes from just what my life used to be like.
I would say that the thing that is like that, like motherfucking anxiety attack is like a DMT breakthrough or orgasm that it's been said, like, when you're having one of those. Like, it's not like, did it happen? Did it happen? Did I come? Did I break through? It's like, oh, whoa, yep, that was it. And like true fucking seeing red anxiety attack, I have both had maybe 6 of those, between 6 and 4. But I was present for a very, very dear relation. My sister. Okay. My sister had her like first real anxiety attack. And one of the things of it is said in my not sciencey jargon, but just like more like, you get to see someone's brain rendering everything as its most horrifying possible way. Like every thought that comes up is immediately put through the filter of absolute doom scenario, to the point of like, this is killing me, and so you have to that person, this is just in my experiences with myself, like, you have to do something to disengage from, to like redirect and just put time there, because when this thing is happening, it's just like every thought is taken into full, just the most.
Then yeah, I've definitely experienced that more than a handful of times.
Yeah, you watch yourself become a factory of terrifying thoughts, specifically designed for you.
And your heart feels like it's going to explode. Why did this come up? Why did we talk about this?
QAnon is a good example of internet dream world spilling into the real world. That's kind of a thing. Okay, anxiety attack, because anxiety attack is like an orgasm or a DMT trip breakthrough. It's like, it's those who bear witness, and the person having the experience. I've been that person having the experience. It is so fucking overwhelming. It is such a thing. It's not just, oh, I had a bad thought. It's like your whole psyche turning inward on itself for this episode that is quick, and the onslaught is fast. Anyway, like, our society is kind of fucking having of that. And some individuals are stewing in it way more. And I think that for a lot of this is something we're finding out about consciousness. It's like, there are like, do you have friends who do air quotes research?
Have you seen that meme where it's like, this isn't necessarily indicative of my opinion. So but it's like vaccine research, and it's like some woman in a lab and like a microscope and all sort of shit. And it's like anti-vax research, and it's some chick like looking at her phone while she's taking a shit.
It's like this. I never understood what the stock market was and what those percentages, and I like don't fully understand it now. But because of Bitcoin, crypto, like and getting somewhat of an understanding of that, I understand more of this. This economy of faith and greed and fear greed index thing. There's did I lose it? I might not be able to land this ship.
Fear,
an idea is like stock. An idea can be trending upward, can be everybody's, there's this sense, like right now, what's QAnon was a specific example of it, but I'm not hearing so much of this thing that was like the talk of the town for good fucking reason. There's that publicly accessible Netflix documentary that is like, whoa, this seems like this used to be deep information. What the fuck's going on with this? With the Jeffrey Epstein thing? Like, clearly there is some sort of super fucking satanic, malicious satanic in the archetypal, like, that's
Luciferian
sort of thing. Yeah, that there's this thing where and one of the things that I observe of it is like, maybe there's this deal that for some, like the megalomaniacal disorder situation, like, can't get enough, and once you have all the money, all you can do is fuck around with different power scenarios. And then
at a certain point, because it's like, have you ever met like any truly wealthy people? Like,
pretty darn.
Okay. They live in a different reality.
Absolutely.
like humanity to them is just a different thing than humanity is to us. And everybody who's not in their realm exists they might as well be an alien in an alternate universe. There's no relatability. There's no nothing like that. And this obviously doesn't go for everybody, but for like the extremely wealthy people that I've met, it's like they are so disconnected from everything else. And they live in this world where there's almost no responsibility and there's no consequence and there's no really anything other than what they want. And they get so bored with that reality, with nothing to struggle against and all these sorts of things, that you either get really, really weird, which is where we get a lot of these extremely wealthy, like political, like a lot of these bizarre political ideas actually come from really bored, wealthy suburban kids. But you also get like, you get the fucking, what's his name? The guy from American Psycho, where you just get so disconnected that like all you do is just like get weirder and weirder and weirder. And for some people, if you take off that social permission slip where it's like, if you're extremely wealthy, you don't have to be nice to people because you just don't have to. And it just allows whatever nastiness is in you to come out in whatever shape, way, or form it wants to. And it's a bizarre thing. It's a bizarre thing to behold.
So I don't even know if the optimistic is the word, but on a trying to optimize the situation tip, because I think both you and I are team that, is how do we make truth rue the day? Like, how do we make it so that truth is more difficult to escape because these lenses are everywhere? Or like, what are we? Okay, so you and I have some champions that we observe of, like those who are stumping for the things that we believe in, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if those signals caught on more because this thing that is like truth, honesty, whatever the fuck you want to call it, like that thing exists in a way that once the signal is out there, like if you emit it, they will come, sort of thing. Like I think of that, and I'm being very vague right there, but what if these big good ideas that are understandable to anybody who's been paying attention got real popular?
And so you're being vague on purpose. You're not gonna give me an example of one of these ideas that could get popular.
Okay. I can give a specific example. That you should explore as much as is accessible to you, or the mouth sounds that you make about, well, in my experience, mean nothing until you've gone and done a bunch, or seen, just seen a bunch. Try to explore that there's voices on the internet that go very, very far right now, and the algorithms help you go far. And you're being myopic as fuck. You are choosing your one little perspective, and then like the rest, and like the sentient audience of that sees the chessboard and is on the chessboard is like, oh, sweet summer child. But you're gonna fucking have all the. What if the opposite thing? What if it became extremely unpopular to be, or just there was like this first principles thinking fire that caught, that everybody gets actually critical thinking?
Well, I mean, that's Pandora's box, dude, because that's what we're seeing right now. Which is it leads me to some uncomfortable conclusions. Like I believe it was it was either Aristotle, Socrates, or Plato. I can't remember which one. I think it was Socrates. But he really disliked democracy. And he disliked democracy because, well, most people can't be trusted with that kind of responsibility. And I look out into the world right now and I see things going on with the pandemic, and I don't think people are lacking critical thought. I think what they're lacking is the ability to draw reasonable conclusions.
Non-conclusions, though, I see. Nobody's got a good conclusion about what to do right now. We're truly fucking around and finding out. Like on one side, with the pandemic, it's like on one side you have the hypothetical of what if we just let this thing wash over populations of hundreds of millions, well, then there would be a lot more fucking corpses and like really fucking horror show situations than there were in America. And we did a bunch of stuff that some people are saying was overshooting it, and some people are saying is common sense. And it's like, dude, we don't know what to do when a thing shows up and there's millions of us and it has a death rate of like fucking less than 1%, because less than 1% of millions is a bunch.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. You got a bunch of people thinking critically and thinking they're up to the task when they're not. Critical thought really isn't what we need. People are plenty critical. What we need is quality thought, skillful thought. People are critical as fuck already. That's way too easy to be critical.
I agree. And the ones that make their identity, because it's a bit of both. I'm saying like, okay, so now I shall drop a name. We talked about this in private on the phone the other day. I don't think that you would fear from. There is an internet celebrity that I find the COVID pandemic scenario has. JP Sears. The things that he has put out since the pandemic are so fucking like short-sighted in my perception, that it's like, if there isn't some meta parody going on here, then this is a person making fun of people for being simple, who is very simple
and being afraid of people for being afraid.
And and there's a meanness to it, and it's so unkind and unintelligent. And like, if Magical Turtle was here, I would very much have this conversation. This is a perfect example of like when I said, like, if there's somebody in your community and you see them posting stuff online, like at some point I would like to take you aside like publicly and be like, hey, do you really think that? Have you seen this? And like really and be human with you and be but now we observe signals getting loud, and they're doing something like that, which is being like, okay, you're critical of what you see as the overwhelming mainstream idea or paradigm, and you're challenging that, but you're also not challenging. You're challenging coming from a place of punk rock, fucking like, I rebel, whatever comes at me, I rebel, and how that's a knee jerk and is not super duper smart. You know,
that's why I largely stay out of the entire conversation. Is because I found out recently that Carl Jung has a quote about certainty, and saying that like, if you're certain about anything, you're certainly wrong, because nothing deserves certainty. And I have my own version of that, where it's like, I think I posted this on my Instagram story, where it's like, Marx says that religion is the opiate of the masses, and I think it's certainty. People form their opinions, or if you know anything about deep psychology, then what you know is that most of your decisions are made by unconscious emotions, and you really only have free will and any real sense of decision making to the degree that you've sorted out and integrated your unconscious material. That's really only the degree to which you have any semblance of genuine free will. And so when I see people doing things like this, where it seems to me clearly one-sided, clearly reactionary, to me what I see is somebody who's at the beck and call of their own unconscious emotions. And they're speaking to an audience that is at the beck and call of those exact same emotional experiences. And so I see somebody who's unsophisticated. I see somebody who's unintegrated. I see somebody who's not really examining their own shadow and how easily they could be the other person on this other side, or even if there's some valuable points of the other people on the other side. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, which is funny because that's an absolute statement. And so it's like, even that statement that only the Sith deal in absolute, like, you just cannot. And so I like the Hermetic phrase that says that all truths are half truths, which of course, if you want to accept that, you even have to accept that that truth is a half truth. And so that there has to be some whole truth somewhere. But what are they? Who the fuck I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, so throw darts. Throw darts is, so this is actually a great comment for the thing that this is unlocked. Oh, how do I make that? Anyway, it says disinformation is responsible. Yeah. I think that like the Fauci example of the masks, like the initial mask comments, like at that moment, we couldn't have the mass public buying up all of the protective equipment that we need for the first line responders first. So I let this general statement arrow fly of don't be going getting that would effectively make it so that less millions of people would be seeking millions of masks, because at that moment we needed to spare them for these people. And then that no longer became the situation. And a new public truth was then responsible. Like, isn't that, it's almost like that's the definition of responsibility in terms of leadership. Like, I will say what is helpful sometimes, even though I'm not giving you my full mind critically, because it is new.
Collective dick by breaking our trust with them from the get-go, because they didn't say that. They said, you don't need a mask, it won't help, don't buy it. If they would have said, don't buy a mask because we don't want to fill up the hospitals, and didn't add the other stuff, that would have been fine. But they lied to us. They said that the masks won't help, and then they went back and said that the masks will help. So they all shot us in the collective dick. They broke our trust from the very beginning.
That trust needs to be broken now. Good that it's happening in this fast way. Hopefully we can navigate to a place of a newfound trust, not even a renaissance, but like new trust. But what if that statement of you don't need masks, like, effectively, if you go back and look at the graphs, like what actually happened is that it stopped people from getting masks, where like the amount of people were going to be like, I see what you like. I'm seeing so much of this. It's so if there was too much of a signal out there of it's just another flu, just let it do what it's going to do, then there would just be more like initial New York when this first happened, like that seemed that was a real overwhelming of healthcare systems in a place where there's millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
And
but what's worse, eroding trust at the very beginning of a pandemic, or having too many people buy up masks.
The trust was and this is the era of the trust being fucked in the most clear and public way.
To me, it seems like a matter of priority, and I'm not in a position of leadership whatsoever. And it seems painfully obvious to me that if I'm going to lead the charge on something, I have to be trusted. I have to be. And so if I come out of the gate lying through my teeth in order to manipulate people, all I can expect is for them to see me as a lying manipulator.
Yeah, I would like, and back to the, what if truth became endemic, like truth seeking, that who knows how fast that would change the world, sort of thing. Anyway, the topic that we were on, if that we were supposed to be on here, of chaos and stuff. So that's the great thing. Okay, if my mission in life is to help people optimize or feel all right in the skin that they're in, or feel called to action in the skin that they're in, maybe those things are the same thing. Anyway, a little bit of disinformation is responsible in terms of my not saying my whole critical mind. I'm not shouting off of the rooftops every time I see an angle that, like, whoa, we are really on a collision course with super fucktitudinal fuckiness, like this, like that it's the division seems seeded and flames are fanned from afar. That look, I just don't know the level of it, but it seems like, oh yeah, if you're an enemy of the United States, like, get that shit divided, and look how easy it is. Look how sorted they already are. And I know that it's a level. I don't know if it's the whole thing. Maybe it is just a problem with us. But man, there's clear examples of where it's like this is being fanned.
Well, I mean, I shared this video, I think, with you, of this ex-KGB agent, like, specifically talking about, like, yeah, by the time this year hits, Americans won't know what truth is anymore, and we're doing this on purpose. And he, like, named a time period, and it was on point, and it was like, by this time, Americans will not know what the fuck truth is anymore. They will have lost track of it completely. And this was an ex-KGB agent saying this in the 80s. Yeah.
Did you I think Obama said this the other day, but it's been said in many different, several different phrasings of this, because it's so, is that if you are identified and rooted have sorted yourself on the right or the left. The other extremity is insane to you.
Mhm.
Not just wrong, not just like they've got a bad stream of information. They're insane.
And evil.
Yeah. That doesn't seem necessary. That doesn't seem like, oh, bro, that's just, that's the nature of it. You got a left wing and a right wing, and then they tend to be. It's like,
Which is so insane. Like, I cannot imagine being in a position where I'm thinking that half of the entire country is insane. And and it's very clear that that entire country, half of the country thinks I'm insane. And I never stop to think, am I? Like, how do you never stop to ask that question? Yeah, that's the guy's name. Yuri.
Yuri best enough, yeah.
That's the guy. You are on it with the comments, dude. I don't know your name, but you are following along with this and engaging just wonderfully. Thank you for the engagement. It's been you're enriching this experience.
I appreciate it as well. We're reaching the end of this experience. I have a house guest coming soon. So if there was okay, my truest of truths, and if there was somebody who was charged with the task, I was like, God, I think of Coach sometimes. Maybe this is wrong of me. I think that like you want the person to be inspired, to have pep in their step, even if that pep is not fully supported by the truth of this exact moment, sort of thing.
I care about pep. I want them to be the master of their reality.
Master of your reality. Okay. To be the master of your reality in this moment, it does seem very clear like you need to have a relationship with the unknown and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And
you have to be anchored in the transcendental first in order to be able to weather that storm.
And is that and so is this period of isolation like our opportunity to find out what we are transcendentally so that it will adapt in whatever the new situation.
Our opportunity, but it's the best survival strategy I can think of. I'm not going to pretend like this anthropomorphic thing has decided to like collectively test us and give us the opportunity to do a thing or not. I don't know about any of that. I'm not one of those people that anthropomorphizes the universe, but I do know that it's the most viable survival strategy that will allow you to get into a thriving mentality if you do that. Like I more than quadrupled my income in the pandemic. I stayed the fuck grounded. I did my work. I stayed focused, processed whatever emotions I needed to process, got myself grounded, and stayed there. And I've quadrupled my income during the pandemic.
Fuck yeah.
So it can be done. You can thrive in the pandemic, and you can do it extremely well.
I've done more of what I've always done in a different situation. And it's like, God, there's a thing that seems like it's so real that it's inescapably me. And then there's also this thing that it could be so different if you came up with this is like a turn of phrase metaphor in the when I was talking with Craig before this about future stuff, that it seems like crypto is outsmarting the old guard of like finance, and that there's actually these situations now where like the people that we see as the they of the high Illuminati council like are actually being outsmarted by like
that's the whole thing. Is like I heard this phrase a long time ago, and it just becomes more and more true to me, especially the more I look at what Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is doing, and just all these other people. It's like I think incompetence is a much more feasible explanation than pure conscientious evil.
Yeah, ambitious without so that's like one of my fucking but I don't want to say platform. But that's one of my that is political axioms now that I got going. I'm going to try to say it again now, which is that we have realized that people being elected to the position of electable based on ambition and not competence has fucked us deep enough, and that may it be the new way that you're being drafted by your observable competence is what has you vying for those positions.
Which, by the way, is the way that, to the degree that I have managed to succeed in life, it has been through demonstrating competence. That is a perfectly viable method of getting pretty much everything you want. There's no need to do it the other way.
And it'll be better because it'll be like secure and it's not like based on this lie.
And you won't feel like a fraud. You won't have to worry about defending yourself against people who might take it away from you. It's secure and it's nice and it's great.
Yeah, that's the spiritual wealth thing that I observe so much, and I've like had it my whole life. This thing where I'm never like super duper up. I have not yet had the experience of, I don't want to throw a number out there, but like I've never had, how many digits is that? Is that like more than $10,000 of liquid monies at a time, at a moment in my life. So that's like a threshold that so many see as like. That's like, and then to some that's like, that seems like, what is it? Like, no, people get a footing like that, and then if you take in the world, yeah, it's like it's such a relative thing. It's who knows where it, but I've always had this thing that is like spiritual, like affluence in these ways that I observe some of the like the money monetarily affluent turtles not have, where it's like, I got all this, I have all these tokens and I'm at the arcade, but I don't give a fuck about any of these games.
Well, if you utilize it correctly, the spiritual wealth can be a terrific generator of physical wealth.
Because yeah, follow interest. People enjoy. We're seeing that with the video game thing, like that people. There's actually this market, this audience for watching people play video games. Who the fuck would have thunk that? And I think I get it. It's like watching somebody be truly interested is so great when you're feeling lost and disinterested.
I honestly, when I first heard about it, I thought it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, but I watch it now. I have streamers that I like, that I follow and subscribe to their content on YouTube. It's fun to see somebody be really good at something that you're bad at. And it's also really fun to watch somebody struggle in a funny way with something that you know is really difficult. Like it's surprisingly connective. I thought watching streamers is the dumbest fucking thing in the world, but it's an odd form of connection.
I get that. I get that for sure. It's authentic. It's back to the like, it's a DMT or an orgasm is like, it's like, did it work? Is this thing on? It's like, no, you would know.
Yeah.
You would know if you had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
You will be on the other side, be like, wow, oh boy, not like, oh, is this thing on? Did that occur? And in the same way is with all things genuine human interest. And it veers, and it's like some of us have. I observe myself to have this chaotic, random seeming setup, but really maybe it's just this hyper honesty. That's what I used to think that it was. Is like attention deficit hyperactivity. It's like no, I have this hyper intensity about being actually interested, or else it's like you fucking don't have my attention, and then I'm zipping around. But like something like video games,
like a rocket on a string where the string is tied to the post. And the rocket goes off and it's like all over the fucking place, but like the post is still here, but you're just flying all over the fuck over here. And but like if you were to just like pull the string in a little bit, you would just be solid as fuck.
That's a solid metaphor. I almost want to end on that, because that's like what it is to be your transcendental North Star in the chaososphere vortex of swirling hurricane of nonsense.
And that's where conviction and resolve comes in. If you had something that you were truly resolved in, truly resolved, like resolution it's final. If you're resolved in something, that's all there is to it. And if you had something you were truly resolved in, I think that would be you pulling back your string.
Having a pole that is in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Because then it's like because then the veering and the ADHD squirrel seeking sprint mind isn't such a problem so much as a fun little ride to be on, because it's like, well, my North Star remains, and I'm going to be it in different situations. Which just brings me back to I am so excited to travel the world because I'm going to be me somewhere else.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I'm very fortunate. I think I've been to 6 different countries, and it's the coolest. It's the fucking coolest. I really can't wait to do it again. I already have the money saved up and set aside. I'm going to Japan the moment I'm allowed to.
I almost want to say I'm on board. I don't have the money set aside right now, but I'll do it. Like, it's like, huh?
You and me in Japan, we would have so much fun.
Yeah, I know. I think that we would be a really good duo there because we both have the leveling, and like I think that you can smell the sincerity on us, right?
Mm-hmm. It would be so fun. I went with 2 of my friends, which are the most loud and obnoxious and rude and offensive and rowdy and raucous human beings I've ever come across in my entire life. And I had a fantastic time with them. And I think if you and I went, it would just be balls to the walls hilarity, and we would have to tape the whole thing. So I'm suggesting we do this. I'm suggesting we make a whole series out of it.
I'm suggesting it as well. Yeah, no, I think that genuine interest is actually where the camera lens goes to make the best, as we now call it, content. Oh wow, I'm sharing like, oh, I had this thought, that's the game, and we have the tools, and I really have to go to the bathroom.
All right, well, let's cut it.
Let's do it. Yeah. And yeah, chaos is going to be a thing. The future is going to be. I'm Zakery Winchester here with Chris Orozco, Shadow Integration aficionado, coach, and friend of mine. This has been the NONSENSUS.
Peace out.
Be sure that the future is gonna be just as